Francis, you were telling me about your love of call centers.
Yeah, now I've had some good ones recently where you're having some issues with bills and you're trying to work out exactly what you're sorting out. And as much as I do love AI, it's really funny how I love it when I'm using it myself and I hate it when I'm being asked to use it. So you're phoning up the call center, and of course, they've employed some clever tell us in one word what you'd like to hear. And the first thing that comes to mind is, when are they going to tell me how to get rid of an agent? I'm just going, agent, agent, pushing hash buttons,
Well, an
pushing this.
AI agent or a real agent? Or I mean, it's the worlds are merging, aren't they?
It certainly doesn't seem like the most intelligent of artificial intelligence that a lot of these call centers are using. And yeah, it's funny because you just know that you want to have that conversation with the human, because even though they'll take you through 15 menus, it seems to take a lot longer. Maybe that's just the infancy of the tech, but it's that dichotomy between AI being really helpful and sometimes being unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah, and I think as doctors, that's a really important point, because ultimately healthcare is inherently human, and it's a conversation, and we're talking with people that sometimes at the most vulnerable in their lives. So, obviously you're out in Dubai now. Tell us about what's going on out there when it comes to AI and tech and the doctor-patient interaction.
So, sorry, it was somewhat gorgeous there.
It's not patient,
there's a lot going on, really, and I think, the truth of the matter, I think, with AI is that the thing that's holding it back isn't the tech at the moment. There are several factors. One is liability. If you give someone a piece of advice, are you going to be liable if it goes wrong? Well, obviously, if I give them advice and it goes terribly wrong, I am liable. I could go in the courtroom. I could lose my license. If technology gives them the wrong answer, who is it that's liable? Is it the technology owner? Is it the place they scrape the data from? The second is the legal aspect of ownership. So when you go on to, because my wife's an AI lawyer, so she talks a lot about the AI law. When you kind of go, make a picture of my family in Studio Ghibli style, it's amazing that it can do that, but you've basically scraped all of Studio Ghibli's intellectual property to do that. Yeah. So, there wasn't any permission being asked to scrape that data. So the regulatory, that's the ownership and the copyright. And then it's the sort of regulatory part about, how is this going to be controlled from a legal perspective? So I use Ambient AI, which has actually been the best thing I've ever found in my practice ever.
Yeah,
and it's
100%.
not that it's the most clever. It's just that it's changed the consultation for me from this is what I look like for most of my life, kind of typing away and occasionally making eye contact.
Can I just stop you there, Francis? Right, it's really interesting, right? You say that, because I can remember when I was doing full-time clinical practice, I would actually be a lot slower because I would refuse to type, and because it was just, I couldn't do it, right? And so what I ended up doing was have pen, have paper, but then I would either be longer in A&E or in the urgent care centre or wherever I was, because then I had to type up quickly or dictate or whatever to do that. So that I can 100% see the ambient AI thing. But tell us about trust in AI.
There are problems with it though. So for example, that data is technically the recording is gone. That's what we're told. We don't know, but that's what we're told. The recording's gone. The transcription is there. Now there is a level of security to that data, but if you use the patient's name and details, then you have identifiable information on that cloud server. So it's an information governance risk. I had someone today. And there's some good things about what it does, because I used to do the pen and paper, or even just keep it in my head and dictate it. But you do forget like a little line or a little bit of, or the supplement that they mentioned they're taking as well. And the AI doesn't, it records it. But then it does do some strange things. So today, patients, they were on rivaroxaban. And so I said, I don't remember us talking about rivaroxaban. Can you just remind me what that was for? Nope, she wasn't on it. And it had got through.
Just stop it a sec, because it's a Bayer drug, I can't do that. So just if you do was on a drug, they weren't on it. So just stop that bit you're getting. I'll cut this out.
I'll do that. So a funny thing happened with a patient today using Ambient AI. I saw them and they were taking a previous blood thinner. Now that wasn't something that I knew about. So I asked them, look, what are you on this drug for? And they said, oh, I'm not on that drug. So what was interesting was somewhere they must have said something. Now they had a strong accent. Perhaps the supplement, because they were on some Ayurvedic medicine, perhaps the supplement that they were on sounded like a blood thinner, and they put that into their medical history. But it was interesting that I obviously read these, but sometimes you get comfortable. I think when you start with AI, you double check absolutely everything, and it's like your secretary. Like, I don't think it's any worse than secretary. Once you get a huge trust in your secretary's ability to turn your garbled dictation into a beautiful clinic letter, you skim the letter because you don't have time. And once you get comfortable with AI making a beautiful transcript, you skim it. The problem is that skimming is still skimming. At some point, we will just go accept and not even skim it.
It's so nascent. And you said it right. It's such an early technology, and there's always room for an improvement. And I was chatting to somebody the other day in higher education who was saying that his wife is marking. It was Phil Blackmore, actually. We did a content day with him. It was amazing. And he was saying that his wife's a university lecturer, sorry. And there's paragraphs that are just being copied and pasted into theses, which say, "Do you want me to change this, or are you happy with this?" So we've got to keep the benefit of these tools, but also the critical appraisal and the output.
They do make mistakes. That shows that your brain activity is substantially reduced if you use AI.
Yes.
So it is dumbing people down because so actually my son created a storybook recently, and he thought he'd be really happy. And I thought it was fun because it was just something to do with ChatGPT. He had a few ideas, and ChatGPT filled in a lot of the gaps. I was surprised how upset my wife was that he'd done that. And go, you should be doing this out of your own creativity.
Really? Okay.
Well, yeah. I do get it, because if you don't exercise that muscle and you just bomb it out, and it, there's something good about what it does, but there's also something slightly generic. When you do ask it to write a poem, it feels like there's no heart to it. Like, it's beautifully written, but it's no heart.
I think you've summed it up. There's no heart, and that ties it back really nicely to the beginning of the conversation, where it's about, healthcare is about communication with heart and from the heart, and it's that deep human to human connection. And it does, you see the trends now on AI where everybody thinks it's clever or what they've done, but when you've got large numbers really large numbers of people around the world doing this, it's not actually original, or it's very generic. It feels original in that tiny little local population, but worldwide, to your point, the poems are, it doesn't quite hit the spot. I completely agree.
I almost think doctors become treatment partners in terms of you're going on a journey with them. So that they're going to come to me not because necessarily I can take the notes down, or even decide the best investigations, or even remember the esoteric test for that 1 in a million condition, or perhaps even to make the right selection of the medication. Maybe the data sets will be far better. But they're going to want someone to share the uncertainty, because obviously everything is uncertain, especially in rheumatology. There's so much gray zone that when a machine says, it's a 60% probability of inflammatory arthritis, I think they need a human being to go, well, what do you want to do? I'll happily walk you through a trial of methotrexate, and if I make a mistake as a human, having talked it through, I think you're forgiving of that. If a machine gives you a drug and you have a side effect from the drug, I don't know if you have any tolerance for that machine's, you want to go and rip the server to bits, because even though it may be just as fallible as I am, there's no tolerance for a machine upsetting a human being. But that relationship that you have with patients is pretty sacred, really. So I think the role of a doctor will be there, but maybe not in the way we thought it was. Maybe not so much as a clever diagnostician, but as someone that can frame that and put it into a human connection.
Yeah, wow. I know you've got a patient in clinic in a second, so I'll kind of give you like the last word. But what do you think the last word? Sorry, what do you think the future holds? I know you've touched on it a bit, but
look, watching large language, and we talked, I think before on this call we started, but we had a bit of a chat about some of these advertising agencies that are out there. So we had a bit of a chat about trying to grow a social media presence and why I'm trying to do that, which is about educating people in rheumatic disease, but in part to become more known in the region so people want to book with me, because that's a competitive world out here in Dubai compared to the UK. But there's advertising agencies that were inviting me to video myself, take my image, take my voice, take everything about me, and then research market trends about what's trending, and then create reactionary videos or videos that were on trend using my voice and using a script that they created. So I could be putting out thousands of hours of content. It's not me, it's an AI based upon what is trending to make me go viral. That technology, if you couple that technology with Ambient AI and you couple that technology with large data set diagnostic, you could imagine that the technology probably exists where I phone you up, it's not me, it's my avatar. We have a conversation based upon my natural speech pattern. That's transcribed into medical notes. Recommendations are made based upon the data set. Bloods investigations are ordered without any clinician sign off. And then maybe even you get treatment, or maybe you come to see me to get that signed off as an acceptable thing. But by the time you're turning up, you've got your blood results, you've got your x-rays, you've got your ultrasound. That could be great in democratizing things, but if medicine can be got rid of, and we hear a lot about people losing their jobs on podcasts, like 80%, 90%, 95%, the society question is what I don't understand. People don't do well if they haven't got purpose. They don't have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. That's probably not very good for their health. And where does the money go? So there are some really big things about AI. I think in the short term, medicine's relatively protected because people don't like patients. The evidence is patients don't like clinics using AI. They don't trust clinics using AI. They want humans at this point in time.
I'd love you to. You said there was an article. If you pop that in the comments below that you saw, like when I post this, if you put that in the comments, it'd be really good to see that. And I think so. Did you go to the studio? Yeah, AI. The patient trust in AI. Yeah. And so did you go to that studio then? Is there a virtual Dr. KP out there with a virtual script? Am I even talking to you, Francis? Blink if that was the case. Yeah, there we go. Hurrah!
Wouldn't that be? Yeah, that would be really scary, wouldn't it? By the way, I've got a call scheduled with Kishan Rees. Could you mock that I'm surprised when he asks me whether I'm an avatar? Yeah, that would be really scary. It's almost, you almost get to the point where unless you're physically in the room and can touch the person, you don't know if you can believe what you see.
It's based on trust, though, and like knowing people in the real world as well. And I know we're way over time, but this is about, if it's quality conversation, then I'm not about turning it into a 2-minute soundbite. But the quick thing is that when we launched the Undoctored Truths Alliance at Next Medical Festival, there was a big thing we were talking about in terms of having that globally distributed, trusted network of professionals is critical. And, this is leveraging, we haven't spoken in a couple of years, but we've worked together for 5 or whatever. And we've it's the historical knowledge, right? And it's the historical, even though we haven't spoken in a long time, it's a conversation as if it's just yesterday. So yeah, it's going to be important. And thanks for agreeing to come on. Really appreciate it. And we'll definitely have to do it soon because we didn't really cover anything that we'd planned, but I hope it was a good, useful chat for people. Anyway.
No, it's great. I think it's really interesting. And I think you see it also from a different perspective, because no doubt there'll be productivity tools. Most of the meetings I go on now, because you might be aware that I do some work for a health tech provider. And so all those meetings are transcribed using AI, and bookings are made by AI agents. So it's coming, and I think it will make a lot of things a lot more efficient. I think there will be a transition while there's an oversight. Who knows what's happened when they start to properly take over everything? But maybe there'll be a revolt because people like me, like coming back to the very beginning of the conversation, even though there may be an amazing bot that's willing to help me with why has my service utility bill not come through, I want a human being to talk to. And maybe people will go, unless I can physically see my doctor, I'm not just see them like this, but could see and touch them in the room. I'm not going to go and take anyone's advice from that. I'm not going to do it because I don't trust my eyes and my ears through technology. I trust it in person. So there may be that might be the saving grace for my job. But I think the AI bit will be good for, resource limited parts of the world. If you've got the option of a really decent AI bot or nothing, then I think that's great. Whether it will be what everyone wants if they've got the means to see a doctor in person, and whether it'll have some unintended consequences, no doubt it probably will.
Yeah, I think it's one to watch. And look, I hope you have a great rest of the clinic, and I look forward to coming, or we'll jump on one of these again, because it's I've really enjoyed catching up, and we will no doubt speak soon.
Yeah, it's been great, mate. That's great. And I'll try and dig up that article about the patients not wanting clinics that have anything to do with AI on their website, because it was interesting when I saw it.
It would save me, digging it, and I'll edit this and put it out. But yeah, if you put it in the comments, that'd be amazing. If Francis or Dr. KP has said anything, I know you've said loads of stuff that's interesting, but if he said anything that's interesting to people that are watching this, reach out to him. Having worked with you for many years, I can guarantee that they'll be in for a good conversation. So yeah, thanks so much, Francis. Have a good one.